Good morning, happy Monday, and welcome to another video on a successful transition from monogamy to open. On Friday, we talked about how there are a number of emotions and negative emotions that keep us from being truly successful and keep us from truly accepting what we want and the things we want to strive for. And I believe I wrote about this in the book that I wrote a year and a half ago, No More Hiding, Permission to Love Your Sexual Self. And there's a whole chapter on the big four negative emotions. And those big four negative emotions are fear, shame, guilt, and embarrassment. So we're going to take a day for each one of those and then wrap it up at the end of the week on Friday with a little bit on how to deal with those emotions. So today we're going to talk about fear. Now, fear is the only innate emotion of the four. And by that, I mean it's the only one that we are born with, that we're self-programmed to have fear. Because fear has many positive qualities. It is appropriate to be afraid at times. If you're driving down the highway and there's a car coming straight at you in your lane, that fear that gets you to swerve and get out of the way to safety is a very appropriate emotion at that moment. If you're walking down the street and you see a big dog that appears angry and is growling and looks like it wants to bite you, fear is an appropriate emotion to move back and reassess whether or not this is a friendly dog or one that's going to go for your throat. So fear is not always a bad thing. So I'm certainly not saying that we should eliminate all fear. That would be very bad for us as human beings. However, the problem is that our fear button in our brain gets stuck on. And when the fear button in our brain gets stuck on, we have things like massive anxiety and problems that we become so afraid of so many things in our lives that we become paralyzed and stuck. It's like you hear when people talk about fear professionally, the fight, flight, or freeze reaction. And the freeze reaction is a very real thing, and that keeps us stuck from actually making decisions in our lives. I'm a big believer that depression is sort of that fear response that's stuck on. It's stuck in that freeze mode, and people don't know what to do. They know internally that there's something they should be doing, but they don't know what to do, and they don't want to do it. They don't want to make decisions. Because those decisions might be difficult or painful. It might be about ending relationships, things like that, ending jobs. Oh, what's on the other side? And they're very afraid. And that keeps us stuck in life. And certainly when people get into open relationships, there could be a lot of fear. What is going to happen? Are you going to meet somebody else you like better than me, who you think is more attractive than I am, that's a better lover than I am, then, all these fears that we have of what might happen if we do this, what most of society think is a crazy thing. And there's lots of stories of, oh, my parents did that and that's what caused their divorce. Well, no. That's not what caused your parents' divorce. It might have been the catalyst that finally ended it, but it's probably not what caused your parents' divorce. There probably were a lot of other issues leading up to it before that point. So fear is something we definitely have to work on because oftentimes people have these fears of making mistakes. And we forget that as human beings, making mistakes is how we learn and how we grow. It is part of who we are. We are supposed to make mistakes. Yes, we're supposed to learn from our mistakes. We're supposed to look at that mistake and go, oh, how can I tweak that and make it better so that I don't keep making the mistake the exact same way every time and I keep growing and learning until I finally can do it in a way that is better. There's the classic story of Thomas Edison, who created the light bulb. And it took Thomas Edison, I think it's like 87, 88 times of working on different versions of the light bulb before he finally got it to work. And when he was interviewed by a reporter, the reporter found out how many times it took. He said, oh, how do you feel about having made 87 failures at making the light bulb? And Thomas Edison, thankfully, was smart enough to go, no, I didn't fail 87 times. I learned 87 ways how not to make a light bulb. And it was that way of thinking that I wish more of us thought about. of not being afraid of making mistakes. Because if you're just starting off in open relationships, you are going to make mistakes. Like, I don't care how many books you read, how many blogs you listen to, read, or how many podcasts you listen to, you're going to make mistakes. It's inevitable. The thing is, how do you look at those mistakes and tweak them and learn from them and improve upon them? That's the thing. I'm a little bit of a believer in vision boards, and I have a vision board in my office. And one of the things on my vision board is it says, feel your fear, face your fear, and do it anyway. And I'm a big believer in that. We have to face our fears. We have to do it anything. It doesn't mean we're not afraid. It's okay to be afraid. Don't let the fear stop you. Look at it, analyze whether or not this is something you really want to do. Look at all the options and figure out if you want to do it anyway. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we're going to talk about shame, which is a huge one of the main 4 emotions. And I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Thanks so much. And if you're not already a member, join the group, the private Facebook group, A Successful Transition from Monogamy to Open. There's a lot of great articles and discussion going on there that you could benefit from. And I will see you tomorrow. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.